Okay.
But yeah, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm Ben from Lot Stock and Barrel. We're based in downtown Los Angeles in the Arts District. We focus on classic American vintage, classic workwear, classic denim, vintage Levi's, and things of the like. And also have offer some great services like chain stitch embroidery on vintage machines. And we also have a great tailor shop program we're building with our friend Liz from Mary James Company, who's also here with me.
I'm Liz. I'm from Mary James and Company. I've just moved in of 2016 with Ben at Lot Stock and Barrel, offering full denim restoration, repairs, alterations, customization, and handmade garments as well.
Where are you from before you moved here?
Before I came here, I was in San Francisco living, but I did have a 5-month hiatus with a collaboration in Greensboro with Hudson's Hill.
Oh, sweet.
And so I
that's
stayed
when you were
there.
working with Cone and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh,
Stayed there
nice.
for, I guess, a kind of a summer and winter in the South, and made some jeans for those guys. So
Sweet. You like
Yeah.
living in North Carolina?
it was interesting.
This is a little different than
Yeah,
San
I grew up in
Francisco?
California, so it's a big change, but I
sweet.
like that change. I think it's cool to learn what everyone else is about around the world. So
Killer.
yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, so we met at, what's it called? At Liberty when
Yeah,
you guys were set
awesome.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
set up for the shop and walking the show. And you guys were working with Koski and
Yeah.
had some choppers sitting in the space. And immediately it was like, yo, what are these guys doing? And I think John came over and started buying stuff up from you guys.
Yeah, definitely. It was awesome. I was actually really happy to have met you guys because you were one of our brands that I actually had just followed via
sweet.
social media and the internet. So ironically enough, I had known about your company and kind of like the cultural elements of your brand and things like that. So I was definitely already like a fan of everything. So it was a great opportunity to actually like meet you and your brother actually. So it was pretty good. So yeah, and it was fun. When Lot Stock and Barrel, like when we do things like that, like anything consumer facing, like it's usually more fun and engaging for us to show up with other people too.
Right,
So
get
it was
to
just
meet
kind of
people
a
and shit.
natural fit. Like Kosuke had built a bike for me as well, and I'm really good friends with his business partner, a guy named John Dragonetti, who's a talented photographer, shoots our lookbooks. They have like an apparel extension of their company that we were showing with, and then our buddy Innes from New York,
Yeah.
who you're familiar with too. He does some great handcrafted like hard goods and rings and things of the like. But
He's making isn't he making like ornate doorknobs and like houseware
yeah,
stuff now?
he moved on from doing the souvenir rings and things of that nature, and now he's actually working for a hardware company called Nans, which is like really
Right, super
luxury,
legit, right.
like door knockers, drawer pulls, like door hinges,
That's
like
so
ornate,
crazy.
like kind of like home goods. It's pretty interesting. So
Yeah.
it's good. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was awesome meeting you guys, and then we've basically been friends and trying to find ways to work with each other since then.
Yeah.
So it's been good. I mean, I always want to do more, but we always get so busy.
Right.
It's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, you guys also do staging, or what's it called technically? Is it staging?
Yeah, I mean, we focus on a lot of. I mean, aside from like being a traditional vintage dealer and vendor and having a retail concept, we also do a lot of design work as well. So we do everything from a lot of retail design, graphic design, brand packaging. A lot of different things. Like we've worked with a lot of great brands. We've worked with everyone from previously we've worked with like Filson and Shot and like
Right.
Charlie's Los Angeles, which was a great boutique out here for a while in Venice. And we've done Levi's has been a big client. We've done things for both mainline Levi's and Levi's Vintage Clothing and Levi's Main Crafted for their trade fairs like Capsule and Project and also Liberty fairs. So it's we try to stay as busy as possible. And
Yeah.
I think nowadays Liz
Doing
and I
a
were
good
actually
job of that.
talking. Yeah, Liz and I were talking about this earlier. Like as a small business and an independent brand, you have to be multifaceted and you have to constantly be doing engaging consumer facing initiatives. Otherwise, like people get bored really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. How'd you guys start? Was clothing first, or was furniture and staging? Did they happen at the same time? Like, how did this
I
all
think
turn
they-
into an official?
I think my
business?
experience from like my background,
Which is what?
my background was definitely from like creative services. I think my first real job outside of after pretending to be like in a hardcore band for so long. I mean, one of my first real jobs was working in creative services at Ralph Lauren, which was like an incredible crash course in not only staging and like set design elements and retail store design elements, but also like sourcing antiques, vintage furniture, vintage, like everything from like wallpaper to like what the flooring looks like to, you know, vintage, like, you know, like raw wood materials, like, you know, buying like abandoned barns and things like that.
Right.
And rehabbing those. So I think a background in having an appreciation for the environment, in the retail store environments and a home environment or anything that's really exciting or kind of creates an emotional or exciting feeling, I think kind of stems from that experience, like working with retail design, and then that kind of funneled into working with like moving on and working with a company like Levi's and getting into more vintage denim and garments. So they kind of coexist with each other, I think. So I think it was a natural extension. Part of it was function, like we have to stay busy, and the design work obviously helps fund all the initiatives we do for our retail store. So I think they kind of live and coexist with each other, and yeah, I mean that's kind of. Who
was your first design client? How did that start?
The first, it was actually Bell Power Sports. When
the helmet company?
Yeah. So when Lot Stock and Barrel launched, we were approached by a good friend of ours who was doing consulting for Bell, because I think they're still in developmental phases of developing like an apparel extension of their brand, aside from like their helmets and the technology behind their helmets.
Right.
They were taking over a showroom in New York for basically for like Fashion Week, for press and media, and launching their first capsule of product. So they hired us to come in and basically kind of like stage and set design each one of those product capsules into different vignettes, like motocross, street, kind of like casual active wear and things like that. One was more of like a purist like power sports sensibility and like functional actual tactical like power sport wear and gear. So we basically came in and developed different like sensibilities for each room and styled them from, you know, build some custom, everything from some custom shelving units, fixtures, and then also did the decor and art and kind of things like that to accentuate the space. So that was pretty exciting. So it was fun, and that was pretty much our first like independent client coming out of the gates. And then we've worked with Levi's has been another major client and partner with us for the past 2 years. So we're 2 years in now as an independent, and we've been pretty thankful. We've done some like interior retail design stuff for Schott and their new store in the Americana. We had a great client, Charlie's in Los Angeles, and he had decided to move on and explore other things.
Yeah,
but his store was an amazing project.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that store was sick. Someone should take over that space.
I missed that spot.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a big project because that place was like a dispensary, and it wasn't even.
It was a dispensary before he moved in?
Yeah, it was like gnarly. It wasn't like a luxury like some of these nice LA dispensaries nowadays. It was like a gnarly, weird, off the beach, Venice, creepy dispensary. And we just had to gut the entire thing. So that store was sick.
I mean, were you guys doing like contracting? Like, were you actually?
We actually work. We have about 3 different general contractors that we work with typically, and then we also have specialists if you need like in terms of like powder coating or I guess like metal fabrication that we also engage usually, depending upon the project. Because we've actually done things where we just like develop fixtures for people too. They're like, you know, some brands are just like, yeah, I want like my racks to be like this, but not look vintagey and be more modern. So I want them like powder coated, but I don't know what shapes they should be. And like, if I draw it like this, will it even stand up?
Right.
So my partner Florence has like a really great background in 3D rendering and things like that. So she's able to like create models with specs for people that actually helps bring those ideas to life, like a napkin sketch to life. So it's actually like a feasible concept that someone can actually like make. So she's like a huge asset to us as well. So
yeah, and you guys did the Steve McQueen.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, we did the.
It was insane.
We did the Steve McQueen lounge for our friend Darren Romanelli, who owns a marketing firm and company called Street Virus, but he's also like an avid art collector, and he does some of his own design and concept work as well, and he has like his own kind of clothing project, Dr. Romanelli's.
Yeah.
And he was working with the Steve McQueen estate, and to coincide with the launch of a new Steve McQueen documentary, we designed and installed a Steve McQueen lounge essentially that was about, I don't know, like 350 square feet that replicated his like 1960s Palm Springs home. And then so we tried to match the furniture exactly as possible to be historically accurate. And then we took some creative liberties, obviously, but we kept it pretty dialed in, like with the use of different furniture, mid-century furniture we had. And then we also had his son's motorcycle in there as well. Yeah. So we built one side of the room to look like a vignette that matched his garage, so which was pretty cool. So we had the family's input and the family's blessing, so that was
that's
really nice. Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
What are you guys working on now? I know you've been talking about moving retail for a while, and you guys also do some private label stuff. You do some chain stitch patches and stuff in the store that you sell, as well as all the Ellsby stuff.
Yeah, it's been great. We've been doing a few projects. We have a ongoing collaboration with Levi's right now called Authorized Vintage, which is available in all of their, I guess, top-tier retail locations, you'd call them, like their new Williamsburg store, their flagship in San Francisco, their newly renovated store in Las Vegas. That's been good. So that's completely like kind of like deconstructed and resewn and retailored vintage 501s, 505s, 517s, various types of orange tab cutoffs and things like that. And then we obviously accentuate some of those with some of a chain stitch embroidery. We're working on, we still, chain stitch embroidery has been an interesting kind of beast. It's kind of grown into like a little bit of like a new wave of craftspeople and people being interested. That's been great. So we're able to work with a lot of people like you guys as well, and kind of develop some cool patches and stitching techniques. Our master tailor Liz, who does like her denim construction and tailoring and services, we're proud to have her in our shop now and offer that to our clients. She's doing a great job. She's learning steadily. It's been great. We're trying to grow and expand retail, give Liz a home and a platform for her to share her vision and her talents in creating like unique denim pieces. And then, stave a course. So we're looking to bring in more third-party brands like a Feltraiger and things like that our customers really are drawn to. I think staying active as much as possible and collaborating as much as possible, whether it's with Levi's, or we have a collaboration coming out with Playboy as well, which is reworked vintage military, which is great. So
when's that coming out?
It's in production right now. Florence is at the factory working on the patterns for the deconstructed and restructured, retailored field shirts. So they're all made in the USA military sateen, cotton sateen field shirts that are being basically kind of like hand tailored, deconstructed and tailored into modern silhouettes with Playboy iconography based off of old school militaria and like military images. Like, a lot of a lot of the military would just kind of just utilize the Playboy bunny logo as like part of their like squadrons.
The trench art stuff.
Yeah, the trench art stuff and things like that. So it's great to actually be able to do it I guess like the right or legal way, So we're very thankful and blessed to be able to work with them, and they're going through a massive brand relaunch and restructure as well.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's an interesting strategy. I think they definitely had to do something to modernize their brand. You know what I mean?
Right.
For a while through like the 80s and 90s, it kind of got a little, it got a little weird, right? Like.
Well, they stopped putting nudity in the magazine as of 2016, right?
Yep.
And then now they're selling the mansion.
Yeah.
So they're going crazy over there.
Yeah, I think they're going more of like the Esquire route. I think they want to be. I think they're trying to elevate it. Playboy was like pretty interesting. Like pretty like culturally significant in the 50s and 60s. When you look at like the old like publications from that era, it's like it was kind of like classy. It was like elevated. There was like a certain type of like. I don't know. I guess there's a certain like kind of like point of view in it. Now it just seems like a dirtier maxim.
Right.
Which,
we're gonna take in the trashiness out of like a porno magazine.
But the company, like the brand itself, is like iconic.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
American as anything else, and I like it's it's something that everyone's inspired by.
Maybe people actually read the articles now. They
Yeah.
take all the news
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of talented people there too that are working really hard to.
Yeah, they've been
to bring
creating
it-
like
yeah.
legit content for a while.
Yeah, yeah. So they do a lot of great stuff. Yeah.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah, so we've got
That's gonna be rad.
Yeah, Levi's, Playboy, working with Mary James and Co., working with Feltraiger. Kosuke's launching a new motorcycle brand in Japan, which will be exciting. He's out in Nagoya. He's launching a new garage. He's going to start building bikes again, and he's going to relaunch Chopper Fever, or a version of Chopper Fever in Japan. So I'm excited to see what he's doing. Maybe we'll do something for him. And then,
that's awesome.
Yeah, beyond that, I think we're just, staying the course. And
beyond that, it's like a laundry list of, you're like,
yeah, and then
all those million things.
Yeah, and then trying to find a great retail location, because the Arts District changes so much. The property values are crazy, and it's just part of being a business owner. You roll with the punches, and you try to stay as strategic and ahead of the curve as possible. I mean, you know what it's like.
Yeah, so. We did the same thing. Moving from the city to Williamsburg.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was a good move.
Yeah.
Sweet. You know where you're going yet, or have retail plans? You staying downtown?
Ideally, I think we'd like to stay downtown. The Arts District, it's quite small. It's like a small portion of the downtown area. And with the prices per square foot at where they're at, I don't know how feasible it is to stay there. But there's a lot of interesting places in downtown outside of just the Arts District. So I think people, now that we've been downtown for 2 years, people kind of you build your brand in a certain area and you kind of become synonymous with that area. Right. So I think we'd like to stay downtown, but we'll just see where it works. But we also looked at Eagle Rock, Echo Park, Silver Lake. Boyle Heights is insanely interesting.
Where's Boyle Heights?
Boyle Heights is right over a bridge, basically.
East of downtown?
Yeah, you cross the river, where everyone does their photo shoots and
right.
hot rod shoots and chopper shoots on that
That's
river.
where Bill just did a shoot yesterday.
Yeah, it's
the river.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun to go down there, but you just go over that bridge, and that's Boyle Heights right there, basically. So it's actually really close to the Arts District and where Little Tokyo is and everything. It's less than a mile. And there's a lot of insane things going on over there. It's a lot of, I call it insulated wealth a little bit right now. There's a lot of interesting mocha quality art galleries going up in there that are insane, that have $300,000 worth of beautiful art installations in there, and they all look like burnt out abandoned buildings from the outside, and you walk in there, breathtaking. Insane. They're gorgeous. I walked into one the other day, and John C. Reilly had an exhibit in there, and I was like,
John C. Reilly?
Yeah, and you would never know, because from the outside it looked like there was literally a weirdo homeless person, God bless him, whatever, but he was just kind of leering on the outside of the building.
Where am I right
yeah,
now?
But then you walk inside and it's absolutely gorgeous. There was a great shop called Ooga Booga or something that I had never heard of, super obtuse art and magazines and
Is it all commercial stuff or condos?
It's just
People
they're all industrial warehouses that have been gutted and turned into art galleries, and I think it's going to become what the Arts District was.
Right.
A few years ago, I mean, thinking back to 5-6 years ago when Worst Cooch and Apollos have been there for years, and Paquetto, when it was still really independent before everyone's getting kind of pushed out by these corporate entities.
Right.
I think this area has the potential, but it's still soon. And so it's you gotta, Liz and I were talking about this too. It's because Liz is going to be an important component of our retail as well, because she, with her denim tailoring and her services, it's kind of a give and take. What was the point? You were you kind of have to, it's a checks and balances in a way, because it's if you're too soon. I
remember the quote.
Yeah.
You're you were so good when I said it.
It sounded really good. It rolled off the tongue. But I think it was something along the lines of, you have to give up your time in a location if you want to be somewhere. You have to fast forward time in a way, but you also have to be able to predict the future and know that you want to be there. But if you're looking at a place that you want to be everlasting, you kind of have to wait for it.
Yeah,
right.
You have to be early.
Show
that
up.
was the point.
Right.
You're that's the sacrifice.
Right, plant your flag and wait for the...
Yeah. It's tough to make that call, though, because it's scary.
Yeah, and I mean, especially with a business, that's how, in Brooklyn, when we moved there, when I first moved to Brooklyn, I was in an area called Bushwick, which is, the next town over from Williamsburg, and it was, super hood. I would my brothers would come to town from South Florida, and we'd walk a couple blocks down to a deli, and you'd look down a block and there would be a gang fight, and my brothers look at me are you crazy, you live here? And it was not a big deal because you live around it and whatever. But now Williamsburg is basically Manhattan.
Insane.
Yeah.
No one can afford to live there anymore. Even Bushwick, that was hood 10 years ago, is now like was really cool, and even that's already getting like the place I moved went up like more than double in a matter of like 5 years in rent. Like you take these creative areas and then you make them so expensive that all the people that are making it a creative area can't afford to be there anymore. And then people just keep moving further east or further west or further inland or
absolutely.
It's ridiculous. But
I think we saw that a lot in San Francisco. I was living in the Tenderloin, and it was the same exact thing. And now, when I look back at it, I'm like, wow, that used to be the worst corner, and now it's a beautiful gallery or something.
Or a gastropub. There's like the fancy bars come into the Tenderloin. It's insane. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. That's how like. When we opened our first retail store, we decided to go to Manhattan because we were like we lived in Williamsburg, we lived in Brooklyn, but we're like, we can't open a store here. Like no one shops and now 10 years later, it's like there's Double RL, there's everything. I mean, everything, J. Crew in freaking Williamsburg, like in little Brooklyn. I don't know, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, when we went back and forth, like you kind of said, you have to go and wait for it. But like if that's your business, like you need to make sure that people are spending enough money for you to even be around long enough for like the rest of the business to come.
That's the kind of the balance right there. You're like,
where's the line?
Yeah, you want to grow, and it's enticing and inspirational and aspirational to be able to build a business and an incredible retail concept. And we have a few other people that we'd like to work with that also would bring in food and beverage and kind of do like the Merci Paris or Dover Street Market concept, but here in LA. And it's really enticing to do so, but you really banking on being a destination and really banking on people willing to make that extra 10-minute, 5-minute drive, or even look around the corner, or be inquisitive enough to like want to peel back the layer.
Can be like too much.
Yeah. So I mean, we used to be right by the Ace too, if you remember, and we were literally 30 seconds from the door of the Ace, and then like there'd be days where like no one came in, and it gets kind of depressing. But because it's like right there.
Right. But literally, if you look left instead of right, you see your store and nobody,
Yeah. So
a block away.
Yeah, the Arts District's been a blessing because the foot traffic's crazy. Yeah. But it's also been a curse because it's like and granted, I mean they're property owners, they're smart, they get it, they're brokers. Like no one's giving small businesses long-term leases in these areas because they know that Club Monaco's coming in. They know that like someone else is like, a Kenneth Cole or like G-Star, Reformation, or like any of these people are going to be coming in. So it's kind of crazy. So
yeah, our landlord, when we moved to Williamsburg, our landlord said he had a restaurant that had a 10-year lease, and when it came time for them to renew their lease, he's like, I upped it 50%, and it was still like way, way, way below market value.
Oh wow!
Like areas like that, the amount that they just pop up is, I mean, I guess with vintage, you really have to have a physical location. Are you guys trying to do much with online, or is that kind of?
We started off online, but then it just became, because we function as a design agency and kind of creative consulting agency as well. It just at the end of the day, we're 3 people, and then we're teaming up with Liz, and she focuses on our tailoring services and things like that. So it's like we're, between 3 people, and we have a couple people that work in the store that are great and incredible, talented people. But it's, it's just a lot to maintain a website with vintage, because it's like everything's unique. So it's like,
you don't have production of stuff. Everything's one.
Yeah. I have like maybe 800 things in the store, unique, like, restored, beautiful vintage pieces. But to photograph them each. Upload them
and get them up online.
Yeah, and the reality is you can sell them faster just by posting it on eBay, or not on eBay, but on Instagram or something like that, and someone's going to see it, and then they'll just direct email us. And like, I've sold faster via Instagram than I have photoshopping it, uploading it on the web, writing a description, and then promoting the website. So it has changed. Like I think the strategy of a business has changed, but I don't think the goal of Lock, Stock, and Barrel wanting to be, focused on narrative and design and collaborating with other brands and telling those stories. That hasn't changed. We just don't have the web platform that we're doing that. So, but who knows? Maybe at some point. But for a retail store, physical retail store, we're definitely interested in bringing in more third-party brands that we respect and admire. Like right now, we carry Feltraiger, Mersby Schwanen. And we had Chopper Fever, and then before we moved to Japan, Fine Light Trading, and we just started carrying Billy Kirk as well. So I mean, those are kind of some brands that we really respect and admire, and I think there's other guys out there that we really like working with that we've talked to, maybe like guys at Red Wing, Hillside, and stuff like that. So
are you trying to keep it American made, or is that just a coincidence because of the type of brands they are?
I think vintage inspired brands. Meersby Schwanen is made in Germany.
Right.
But I think I think quality and like uniqueness and
it's more about vibe.
Yeah, I think it's more about vibe. I mean, because there's beautiful things made in Japan that you know what I mean? And there's beautiful things made in Italy. I love made in the USA. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Well, I feel like a lot of times Japan also does a better job of making American-inspired stuff than Americans do. Like,
yeah, that's interesting too. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Japanese perspective on American culture is interesting. So I think in a weird way, just because it's made in Japan, like they're doing America a justice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're inspired by our culture. So I think that's a positive.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to keep our vintage made in the USA vintage, just because when you open it up to like weird vintage that's just made in like Thailand and wherever, Malaysia or wherever else, it's like gets weird.
Yeah, there's no end to.
Yeah, and like I try to keep the vintage pretty dialed in, like classic workwear, classic denim, classic like hunting, classic Americana. You know what I mean? Like I don't even carry like French workwear stuff. I love it, you know what I mean? But it's just not
right.
It's not us. Yeah.
I mean, do you guys like plan specific trips to source, or is this stuff you guys come up on, or is it hunting eBay or Rose Bowl?
Yeah, I don't use Rose Bowl at all because like we've all been to Rose Bowl now, and it's kind of almost like shopping retail, I think, in a weird way.
Yeah.
But because they know, like they're savvy.
Right.
But also I use a lot of private dealers, but Florence and I will usually take like a trip or two a year, like through American Southwest. We usually hit Arizona, New Mexico, Southern Colorado, Illinois, Wisconsin, and then I have dealers here in California that I work with. But I don't usually do, like if I need something really specific, it's like more like for chain stitch embroidery stuff, like you and I both know there's not a lot of resources out there for it.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people, even though it has had an advent of a little bit more popularity recently within certain like kind of apparel sensibilities, like the Americana and heritage kind of sensibility stuff.
Right.
But like I'll buy like thread on eBay. Because it's more like supplies and thread, because you can't find like the nipple, like, or you can't find like the needle bars anymore. You can't find like the correct thread weight or the colors. So it's like it's a lot of the supplies that we need to be able to like maintain like the functionality of the stuff and the services that I'll buy on eBay. But I mean,
a lot of people downtown don't even like. We've experienced it walking around and trying to talk to people. Like a lot of them have no idea what chain stitching is, what machine you're talking about, what.
Yeah, you go into the sewing machine stores and they're like, I don't know.
Right.
I met a guy the other day at like one of the last like really like kind of repair shops in LA that really like focuses on the chain stitch embroidery machine, and he's just like, yeah, like I've been working on him since I was 17. I don't know how old he is now, probably like 40s or something like that, I think. I'm making the assumption he's like probably early 40s, mid 40s. And he's like by the late 80s, he's like all the operators just quit because they weren't getting hired to do it because everything was going digital.
Right.
So they like all lost their jobs or learned a different sewing machine because no one was doing it.
Right, what am I doing chain stitching?
Yeah, so I mean, so the machines are rare. They were all junked because everyone just gave up on them and no one cared. So.
Right.
That's kind of just like one of those things like, I mean, there's companies that still make them new, but they're really expensive. And the vintage ones, you and I both know, are like, just like trying to work on a bike. It's not easy.
It never runs for more than a few hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a headache, that thing.
Yeah. We'll get it. We'll get it going, man. We'll, like, when we're finished wrapping up or whatever, we'll play around.
Sweet.
And Liz has learned a bunch, too. She's a beast. Like, her skill set's, like, incredible. I wish I was as good with my hands as her.
Well, how'd you guys start working together? How'd you guys meet and kind of, oh, sorry, I'm kicking somebody, and get that started and kind of make a decision to move in and move forward?
Well, Ben and I worked together at Levi's for a few years.
Yep.
I was working in the Levi's tailor shop at the time, and this was before there was Lot Number 1, which is the made-to-order jeans program. We were a fully functioning denim tailor shop, so anything Levi's, you could bring it in, repair it, alter it, customize it. The Pandora's box was open. And so I learned quite a bit there of different garment construction across the board, everything from outlet to LVC, and also learned a lot about vintage clothing that way. And that's what I really loved doing, was restoring old vintage garments and bringing them back to where they should be, not darning over them to make them something new, but really restoring the beauty behind it. And I think we really related in that. And so, of course, Ben went on to do Lot, Stock, and Barrel. And I continued to the Lot Number 1 program that I mentioned earlier, where we did production of custom jeans. So client would come in, we'd measure their body, they'd select fabric, thread color, back leather patch, rivets, everything.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. But again, Pandora's box was open.
Right.
There was, we had, of course, Cone Mills fabric. We had some Japanese mills and Isco from Turkey. So there was all different kinds, all different clients, and it was in downtown San Francisco in their flagship store. So anyone could walk on in and set up an appointment with us. It was a really fun experience and very interesting, but it taught me the interpersonal relationships and what I wanted to do. And I think I needed to start my own brand, or I know I needed to start my own brand to do that. And so I really enjoyed collaborating with people and finding out, what do your clients need? What kind of restorations do they need? What type of things do they do? Why is this garment so beat up? And the story behind it. And so kind of incorporating that with the design for production. So it goes with the garment restoration, but then also how do you produce a garment that's going to wear beautifully?
Right.
So I really focused on that and came off of a collaboration with Hudson's Hill, where I made a garment inspired by Greensboro. So it was made with Cone Mills white oak denim, of course. It had, I'm actually wearing a pair now, I'll show you. It's got a front leg panel that goes from the waistband down to below the knee. So it's an extra layer of ripstop denim or ripstop olive below the denim. And so what it does is it reinforces it. So as it wears, you can kind of see that ripstop coming through as the fibers wear and break in. So it's a really great work jean. It also has a work fit. It's a men's button fly. Fit a lot of women in it as well, because it's a relaxed thigh and tapered leg. So a lot of women like that look now too. And so, I produced quite a handful of those and came out here to set up home base with Ben. And so hopefully we'll be producing some garments, and I'll be off to collaborating with other stores through 2016. Hopefully doing one in San Francisco, one in Miami, with all different retailers and brands throughout, and seeing what their clients need and how they wear and what they do.
So it's all you, and it's all one-off. There's no production.
Small batch production. So it's all under 50 units per collaboration, and that's with the Mary Jameson Co. But I'm also offering one-off custom through Lot, Stock, and Barrel as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's inspiring. Like it's really great to reconnect with Liz too. It's been like a really great kind of like spark to the new year. Like it's always fun. That's why I love the collaborative aspect of what we try to do all the time with retail and design and things like that. It's just working with other people that inspire you, that you feel amazed every time you walk into your store or your workspace or our workspace now, and you see someone doing something exciting. It gets me excited and makes me work better too. So it's been a great start to the year for us working with Liz, and I like learning from her and just like seeing what she does and like hearing little notes on like her construction and process. I think it's great, and our customers have enjoyed it too. I think that one great woman came in from New York the other day, and Liz basically sold her 3 pairs of custom jeans, like 3 vintage 501s, because Liz can do such a great job of a tailoring and accentuating the fit. So the woman was sold. So it's a great service that we're really proud to have in the store. It's a great value add, you know what I mean? Because vintage is great, but then when you tell a woman that she can like modernize the fit and the silhouette's gonna like accent her fit or her form or her silhouette, they're stoked. Yeah. So it's been great.
I think there's a lot of people who are in love with vintage, but they can't always wear it.
Right.
And that's how I started tailoring, was wearing boys' clothes or men's clothes, I guess. Boys when I was younger, I suppose. Or still, because I'm little. So I do fit into boys' clothes. But making that fit a woman's figure, or sometimes men can't fit into men's clothing as well, and so changing that aspect. But with vintage, you almost don't want to alter it too much. So it's making those small tweaks where it can still read as a 501,
right?
But making it fit you and flatter you a lot more. And same with like a motorcycle jacket or even a Hawaiian shirt, which doesn't really have a fit, but sometimes if you change it, you can make it just a little bit better,
right? And
make it look like that vintage piece was created for you, even though it's, however old.
Right. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, that was one of my big things with trying to find like a leather jacket. Like you try stuff on all the time, or like digging through vintage. Like that's the biggest problem. You find something that you absolutely love and you know it's just not going to fit. And I've had try to get things tailored and doesn't always, work out. But I need to come and I was just telling Ben actually that I'm so used to wearing like super skinny jeans because my legs are so skinny. I wear like Levi's 510s.
Oh, 510s.
But then I can't.
Those are
they don't fit over. They're the skinniest jeans they make. But then they don't fit over my boots.
Right.
So then I can't wear boots because otherwise I have like little chicken
silhouette.
legs and then a big boot. So I'm trying to figure out a middle ground, and I think
We can do
grabbing
that
a
for you.
vintage pair that like we can slim out the leg and open up and
Absolutely.
yeah, that's killer.
Yeah. I'm always telling people I'm a tailor, not a magician. But I
Right.
think at some point I do amaze myself at what is possible.
Yeah.
Some women want to get jeans really tapered like that so it fits right along the boot. And I think, hell, these are going to rip. There's no way this
Right.
garment's super old. The thread's brittle. What's going to happen? And I do it, and they fit great, and I send them off, and I see them a year later, and they look even better, and they
Yeah.
haven't torn at all. So sometimes you really have to trust the fabric. I think that's what I'm always telling people is be careful with the fabric, but trust it. Don't treat it like it's a piece of gold. It's meant to be worn
Right.
And broken in, but we do have to be cognizant of how brittle some of these
Right.
things are.
Just don't be
and
an asshole.
Treat them. Yeah. So I just like to make sure that it's pushed to its limit, but not further.
Right. How did you get interested in, I guess, rejuvenating? I feel like now or recently a big thing is everybody wants their jeans to be distressed and wants their jeans to be, that's like a look. And how did you go? I feel like it's the opposite to go, oh, we want to like bring them back to their former glory and restore. And if you're not just, like you said, you're not just darning jeans, like how are you repairing, what does that entail, I guess, is my question.
Well, I've definitely done my fair share of distressing, I have to admit. My favorite form of distressing, I also have to admit, is dry scraping, where you take a rigid pair and just get them like 2 months ahead for people. Because there are always those guys that don't want to break in a pair of boots or a new pair of jeans or whatever it may be. And I think that that's a little crazy, but I have done that before. I've since given it up because I see that the life in the denim is really the life in the denim. You've got to live in it to make it show. And so I think that restoring it brings the life back into the denim. So if you've got a hole at the back of the knee, you don't have to darn over it because the knee's still going to bend each time you live in it. So a hand stitch there, a reweaving of the fabric can be done as well. Things like adding a extra layer to the back pocket. So if you get your little iPhone hole, doesn't need to really replace that hole. You can add another layer to it and still see the wear over time rather than stitching over it and covering it up. Sometimes there are, I guess, initial repairs that need to be done. If your keys tag on something and you get a huge cut, that you can't really cover up. You've got to kind of creatively find a solution to, okay, how does this look like it's meant to be there rather than an over time kind of thing. So there's always the challenge of trying to hide something or making it more beautiful. And I always try to make it, look like it was meant to be there and repair it in a way that is strong, but also aesthetically nice.
Right. Trying to keep jeans alive, I guess, so people can live in them as long as possible.
And I think with that, I do a lot of hand stitching. I was showing Ben a pair of Iron Hearts that a friend had for, gosh, I don't even know how long he's had them for. They are really, really broken in. And I think I've probably done about 12 crotch repairs, the knees. I've done a pocket bag replacement. The bottom of his cuffs are just totally torn up. And it needed a lot of darning work. And so I had done that before, and this is probably, gosh, I don't know, my third or fourth visit on this garment. And I thought, well, I kind of want to add some hand stitching. And so he had a huge hole, a cut, kind of how I was mentioning, where it just got tagged, I think, on his pedal or something. And so I thought, well, let's hand stitch this. Even though the rest of the jeans are completely darned, I put in a piece of canvas and just hand stitched it. And I think it was a really beautiful addition to something that looked so beastly. They're like the really heavyweight, gosh, I don't know whether it was like 26 ounce or something.
Oh my God.
They were
make some gnarly.
Yeah, they were heavy. And so I thought, well, let's add a little bit of a nice touch to an area of the jean that doesn't get as much work.
Right.
And then darn the rest and make sure that they can keep up with you. But sometimes it's one or the other in a garment, and sometimes it's both.
I mean, do you try and work more with raw or selvage denim specifically, or anything anyone brings in? Or, like, for instance, I get crotch blowouts in 511s all the time, and they're like $60. So a lot of times I'm like, I'm just going to buy a new pair and wear them in again. Instead of like trying to repair them. And like, do you think that's worth, do you do stuff like that, or you try and stick with like a special, like an Ironheart 26-ounce denim? That's not something you're just gonna get rid of and buy a new pair. That's worth the repair, you know. Is there a line there?
A toss-up. That is like the $1 million question of any denim person's life. I think that it depends. If you are the kind
value.
of if you're the kind of person that will wear that pair of jeans every day for the next 3 years, then of course, bring them in. We'll panel them up. I'll patch them till everything's gone and you're only wearing the patches.
Right.
But if you're not the kind of person that's going to put those on every day, it may just be kind of a rotating cycle.
Right.
So there's people who say, Liz, make me a pair of jeans that can last me 5 years or whatever. Yeah, I can do that. But in 5 years' time, are you really going to wear that same garment? You may have changed a little bit since then, or got a different pair of shoes that you want to wear more tapered leg or wider leg or whatever.
Right.
So we do have these rotating pairs that we go in and out of, and then we also have our go-tos.
Right.
So I think the go-tos, of course, bring them to me, and we'll take care of them. But sometimes the rotators, you can rotate them out, or sometimes those are good to cut up to patch your next 510s or something. I'm always giving folks, I just hemmed 2 pairs of 316s, and they have a huge cutoff at the bottom. And I put them with the jeans so that when he comes back in, he can have that same fabric to repair it with.
That's a good idea.
And do that. And you can always cut up your old 510s and use something like the back of the thigh to patch the knee on another pair, because that,
Huh. Look at that.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
It's the simple things. I think I'm really simplistic in a lot of ways, and it's sometimes ways that people don't really notice, and I've just done it out of functionality. And I think that's probably why a lot of us like denim and that kind of world, because it is simplistic and something that we can put on every day without thinking, and we know it's going to be with us and last. So
So are you still making jeans from scratch, or is it all you are?
Mm-hmm. The next will be a women's jean, and it's going to be a semi-stretch selvage Cone Mills denim.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
it's pretty good. It's got a really great recovery rate. So it's not like some of the other stretch denim you've seen, and it's a selvage denim, so it's strong.
Right. You get like ripples in the
Sometimes
back in the day when I used to be in a hardcore band and wear girls' jeans that had stretch in them, I used to get that ripple with
waves.
like the elastic would pull or whatever. Oh man, shitty, gross jeans.
Remember when in like hardcore it was like a weird thing to like do that weird
what?
Like,
wear girls' jeans?
Yeah, it was like girls' jeans and white belts.
That was
and
a style. Yep. Hair in your face.
Whose fault was that? Like 18 Visions?
Not mine, but I definitely did it. Yeah, 18 Visions
it
were.
It was like 18 Visions.
Definitely
like
a culprit.
Bleeding through.
Yeah.
It was like one of those like Orange County band's faults.
Oh man.
Like where they had like the haircuts. Like all the fancy haircuts.
Hey, I've seen pictures of you back in the day with your long hair. The
long
Woody Doo hair.
It was cool though.
It was cool. I'm trying to grow my hair now.
That's the Ben I remember.
Yeah. Oh, you had long hair when you worked at Levi's?
Yeah, I only cut my hair like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Oh really?
Yeah. I'm trying to grow it out again too, I think.
Really? Just something new? Switch it
yeah,
up?
I think it's too. I didn't realize how much maintenance, because I had long hair for like 9 years. I had forgotten how much maintenance it is to have short hair, like to constantly get haircuts like every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so,
keep
like,
it clean and shit.
comb your hair. Otherwise, like, this is my style of hair. I look like a porcupine, like
right.
weird. Yeah, and I'm like the round head. Like I have a big head anyway, so it's like I look like a weird like porcupine koala. So I'm just gonna grow it out. I think again.
What are you putting it to keep it back?
Trace Flores.
Wow,
Because I have to use so much hair product to like keep it like slicked and tight.
Yeah.
That if if I use like a more expensive like pomade, like Imperial's great. Like I love that pomade, but it's like $20 a tin.
Yeah. You just fly through it so fast.
Yeah, and Trace Flores is like.
What's Trace Flores? I've never heard of it.
It's like an old school like.
Like
pomade.
I used to use like Murray's and Suavecito and stuff like that. But
yeah, like all those are great too. Like Murray's is great. It's like $3.
Yeah, you
but
get
it's
it
like
like
disgusting,
CVS.
and it gets on everything, and it like you have to like buy new pillowcases.
Right.
So it's just like Trace Flores is like this like old school like pomade or whatever, and then it's like $5 or $6 a tin, and it's water based, and it's
It washes out.
Yeah, it just washes out with water, and it's like the guys from Vinny's Barbershop turned me onto it.
Oh shit.
They're like this barbershop over in like kind of like Los Feliz area on Virgil over there, and there's like a amazing barbershop, and they're all good dudes, and they're like, yo, like you should just use Tres Flores, and I'm like, okay.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Are you all set up at Lotstock?
I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're ready to go. You're ready
Ready
to take
to go.
orders?
Taking in restorations, alterations, and sampling of that women's jean will be happening soon. So January, I'm really just focusing on setting up home base and building clientele and finding those folks with awesome vintage to get repaired. Also helping out some smaller brands with production that do similar production as that I do. And it's hard to do alone, I think, with single needle. It takes a while. I remember telling people in Greensboro that my jeans took 16 to 18 hours to make per pair.
Damn.
And they didn't understand. And so recently I met some folks who are making some really great product, and they do the same thing I do. And so I'm teaming up with them and helping out their production before my women's jean launch will probably happen in March.
Kind of consulting?
Yes.
Cool. And if people come into Lotstock, they can grab jeans there and you can tailor?
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Damn.
Or any
That's awesome.
jean that isn't from Lost Sock and Barrel too.
Are you doing other alterations other than denim?
Depends what it is.
Yeah. Depends if you want to deal with it.
I mean, within reason, I'm not going to work on a knit sweater all of a sudden.
Right.
I do like to hand stitch, but not that much.
I mean, you did a pair of chinos.
Yeah, chinos, things that are similar. Yeah, I mean, in
like
weight.
denim jackets or like military shirts if people
of
want
course,
stuff fit
of course,
and stuff like
yeah.
that.
No silk shirts or anything.
Right.
You did that incredible
Nothing crazy.
Vietnam era sateen field shirt the other day. You redid the bottom hem and shortened it.
Right, thank you. Yeah.
Right. I forgot how amazing I am.
You forgot your own great
Right, I
work.
did do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I think that there are some fabrics, and of course it goes back into some vintage garments too, that are just so sensitive to run under a needle.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, sourcing some of this stuff is just, you got to change up the whole machine. So I make denim, so that's what my machines are tuned for.
Right.
And so anything that's similar.
Cool.
But I will,
Sweet.
take in anything for a look and judge it then. Yeah.
So plans for 2016? Anything on the cusp that you want to push or plug or let people about?
I think we're gonna just focus on working with the authorized vintage program with Levi's. It's tested really well, and it's retailed really well in the U.S. So I think they're looking to expand to the Asian and European market. I think those markets would embrace, a custom retailered quality, old school, made in the USA, vintage Levi's product. That's kind of gone through the redesign process with us. So that's exciting.
That's all in-store only, right? They're not selling that online?
Yeah, it's in-store only for right now. I think there has been some people that we've been approached for wholesale, but right now it's just the program. It's so it's still a pretty intimate, hands-on program. So to open it up to wholesale is a little bit challenging right now.
Right. Where
we can keep the purity of the process and the quality of a garment pretty much dialed in if we keep it just straight to retail, working with Levi's for their top tier retail locations. I know that some top doors, their top performing stores in Japan, are looking to obtain some of those pieces. Also the same thing in London. So that's really exciting. So expanding that authorized vintage program, and we're excited to work with Playboy and explore all these vintage military kind of product extensions, and then working with Liz and Mary James, and then trying to expand our retail concept as well. So maybe bring in some food and beverage, bring in some more great third-party brands and friends that people we enjoy working with, and finding more ways to work with you guys. I mean, we got to be able to do something exciting. We had a great holiday party together, but
that was killer.
I think we can do more. Working on those vests together was pretty damn amazing.
Yeah.
The gentleman that won his, I saw him wearing it the other day. He loves it.
Yeah, he was stoked.
Yeah, and he's got a great, cool business too. They're set up at that marketplace downtown with their new liquor concept. Yeah, so I mean, just staying active, you know what I mean? Staying active as possible.
And where can people find you? You want to give them the
right now we're in
Instagram, all that stuff.
Yeah, the Instagram's probably the best way to stay in touch with us, what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. It's Lot Stock and Barrel. It's just LOTSTOCKANDBARREL. And then we're at downtown LA in the Arts District, 801.5 Traction Avenue. And it's easy to find. We're right next to Worst Cooch, that pretty famous sausage restaurant, directly across the street from the Pie Hole, LA, an awesome bakery. I'm plugging a lot of people, but
No.
whatever. I like our neighborhood as it stands for the time being. So, but yeah, it's great. And thank you very much, man. Like, this is awesome. Like, your setup here is awesome. The showroom looks great. All this equipment's super sick. It's cool.
And what about you? If they want to reach out or see what you're up to or check stuff out,
yes.
Where's your home base at?
Home base is at Lot Stock and Barrel, 801.5 Traction, as Ben mentioned. I do have a website, maryjames.co, and also Instagram is maryjamesco.
Sweet. Thank you guys for coming in.
Yeah,
thanks,
thank
man.
you for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So everybody head over, check out Lot Stock, doing some amazing stuff, and we will talk to you soon.